All right, we're gonna do a really quick comparison of some alcohol stoves. Right, I needed to make an alcohol stove for a project I had a little while ago. Had a really hard time deciding which one because there's so many on the internet. Ended up making a couple ones that I thought were most relevant. We're gonna sort of go over them. The build videos for all these stoves will be in the description. Hopefully this is helpful. Yeah, so we made these 5 stoves, all with similar levels of impatience and indifference. Played with them for a bit and then did a boiling test. Boiled 2 cups of water with 1 ounce of fluid. Yeah, more just to see if any one of them are annoying to use or poor performing. Let's start with the stove. So this is the Chimney one. Yeah, again, link in the description for the designer of it, and I just followed their video. This one's really easy to make. This holes in the bottom, just use the power drill with a 6 mil drill bit, and then the top is a hole punch. On the bench, this stove performs really well. It boils quickly. I boiled in 5 minutes and 40 seconds, and then continued boiling the water up until 8 minutes and 40 seconds. It burns really clean, so even with isopropyl alcohol, there's no soot on the bottom of the pot, or very little. And yeah, really easy to start. It doesn't really require any priming, so potentially in cold weather, this stove would work okay. So although on the bench it worked really well, I think for me, the real world use of this would be on the ground in adverse weather conditions. And it's so tippy and tall, and these huge holes. If you spill it or tip it over, I can imagine the isopropyl alcohol flame river that would come out of it, and I'm not super interested in that. And then as well, it didn't perform very well in wind. So I essentially just did a bunch of, just blew on it quite a bit, and it doesn't reignite itself. If like half of it goes out, the other half can't reignite itself, and that's just because I think the holes are a bit too far apart. And if you added more holes, it would burn quicker and stuff. So, anyways, the wind resistance of it is the biggest downfall for me. Take a sip of the beer. All right, moving on to the Wicked Fancy Feast style stove. This one's super easy to make. All you have to do was cut the tomato paste or tomato sauce can with a hacksaw. This one's sticking out 3/4 of an inch. That varies depending on what YouTube video you watch. For the wick, I used paper towel, so that's a big win for accessibility and whatnot, because it's obviously quite available and cheap. I don't think it's the best, but for me, it's just so convenient. The main positives of this is just how user-friendly it is. It just starts. Like you light it, a nice flame comes out, it's quite big immediately, and there's just no fuss, which I really appreciated. It boiled in 7 minutes and then continued to boil quite well, so a nice rolling boil up until 10, and then it started tapering off, and the water was still boiling until about 13 and a half minutes, but as I say, it sort of tapers off. I think the biggest thing people mention with this one is that the storage is a bit annoying, because if you don't burn off all the alcohol, then you got to store it in like a plastic bag or something, and then you're wasting that fuel potentially that's still left in there. But I think that I've sort of not come up with a solution, but more stumbled upon a solution to that. Is this is actually a jalapeno can, which is the same size as a cat food tin as far as I'm concerned. And a pop can fits very snugly over top of it, and almost it makes like an airtight seal. You can almost feel the vacuum when you pull it off. And I think that is going to solve the storage problems for me. I might even make a lid like this with some holes in it, and hopefully it'll act as like a simmering lid. All right, let's look at the cat can stove. This is a classic. This is also with a jalapeno one, so you could potentially use a can to go over it as a simmering lid or to snuff it out and to store it, whatever. This one's by far the easiest to make. Just punch some holes in a can, throw some fuel in it, and let it burn. Using it, however, it was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. You definitely need to let this prime or heat up without the pot on it, ideally for a while before the alcohol gets hot enough to vaporize and start coming out of these holes sufficiently. So the first test I did was actually with fewer holes than this and with no pot stand, and it came to like a boil, but not a rolling boil, after about 10 minutes, and then lasted about 16 minutes. But it was never boiling enough that I would want to make pasta or something with it. Maybe with a lid, it'd be fine. And then the second test, I wanted to try it again, so I popped more holes in it, which didn't really seem to make a difference. I think that the pot sitting on it, I don't know, seems to pull too much heat from the actual alcohol inside, so it's not vaporizing quick enough. So then I tried it with a pot stand, and with the pot stand, I was able to get to a nice rolling boil. What was it? About 9 minutes and 30 seconds, and then it was able to hold that boil until about 14 minutes, so that was pretty good. But yeah, like I said at the start, I'm having to prime this for quite a while. Doesn't matter a ton, but oh yeah, wind performance. This thing can reignite itself no problem if you blow it in the wind. I think you could probably it could blow out the whole thing, and then you'd have to relight it, but I think it'd be quite obvious. So each individual jet reignites if wind hits it, and that's the main concern, because you can use a wind guard and stuff, but if wind's hitting it and half of it's unignited and you don't notice, that's sort of the annoying part. Okay, moving on to the penny stove. Harder to make than all the sort of tin can ones, but probably the easiest pop can stove to make. I think anybody could do it. It's pretty chill. There's really nothing going on in here. Just cut the cans in half with an X-Acto knife. Poke holes in the top with a needle or a thumbtack. So that's pretty chill. As far as using it in real life, I think the first thing is I would lose this penny, which would be annoying. So I'd have to pack about 10 pennies on every trip. And then to start this, to prime it, you need to put some alcohol underneath it and light it, or a candle or something. And I'm just not really interested in doing that. With the alcohol, like sometimes you put alcohol underneath and I just put too much and the flame would be huge, and then it would pressurize so much and start shooting flames out the little holes and out where the penny hole is and stuff, just like really aggressively. I didn't really like starting it. After a bit, the flames get nice, but yeah, I mean, starting it's the main thing, and didn't like it, so kind of don't like using it. You need a pot stand for it, so you got to make one of those. I guess that adds some difficulty to the build, but I must admit I like using a pot stand. So this is kind of more of a pro for me. In the boiling test, it actually never boiled. And now I think I did it twice just to see, and I think it's because my pot stand's too low and wasn't doing something that would allow it to boil. So probably more user error. It lasted for 20 minutes, so if you wanted to simmer something for a bit, that's great. But I just wasn't really, I couldn't be bothered to try again and make this work better for boiling, because starting it isn't going to change, and I am never going to take this somewhere, because like I can't imagine myself pouring alcohol. I mean, you'd have to bring a little tray and then lighting that on fire. And like I said, I'm going to be camping pretty much always. I'm going to be throwing this down on a piece of grass or something, and that just seems sketchy. So For me, the penny stove, this is probably controversial because a lot of people seem to really like this, but it's just super annoying. Like, and then you lose the penny. I just don't get it. Maybe somebody in the comments tell me that I'm wrong and that they really like it and explain why. But yeah, it's a neat idea, I guess, but annoying. Okay, now we're going on to the hollow wall pop can stove. This one's definitely the hardest of all of them to make. This one's called the Capillary Action version by Andrew W. on YouTube. He makes surfboards. Go check him out. Epic. I'll link down in the description. This is a slightly different version of his design. It actually took me 3 tries to make this because I think he originally said to use ducting tape, which I found didn't work super well just because the ducting tape gets too hot and then the adhesive gets warm and it comes apart and then it starts shooting out alcohol vapor, and yeah, it didn't work well, so it took me a couple tries to make this. But once it was made, I was really surprised. I kind of did not have high hopes for this one. I thought it was going to be similar to the penny stove and just like annoying to use, but this thing, I mean, it has this huge void in the middle. It's super easy to fill. And then, yeah, they just light it on fire, and it took like 15 seconds. I mean, it's warm out and stuff to prime, but that's pretty awesome. And then once it's primed, like the flames are beautiful. It's just super satisfying to use and really easy. In the boil test, it absolutely whipped the competition. It boiled in 7 minutes and then lasted 14 minutes, but it was boiling strong until the very last second. So if I was just wanting to boil water, this would be it. It worked quite well in the wind when you'd blow on it. I couldn't actually blow it out at all, no matter how hard I tried, which is really awesome. I think it's because this huge orifice in the middle just immediately reignites everything. And when you blow on it, it shoots a huge flame out. And so you obviously would want a wind guard still, but the fact that it doesn't completely unignite is great. This one you also need a pot stand, of course. But for me, like I said, that's kind of a positive. I think it's worthwhile. Okay, cool. So I guess just super quickly, if I were to be going out backpacking tomorrow, I would be bringing either this wicked fancy feast one. I really like it. It's just brain dead. You just light it on fire and cook with it. Yeah, it's awesome. And then this one, which like blew me away. I could imagine it maybe wouldn't be as good in cold weather or something. It's just a little more going on, but it's quite fun to use. But yeah, either one of these I really liked. And if I were to just wanted to make one and go, you know, tonight, make one before I go, it would be this. This probably took 10 minutes to make, whereas this one's a little more involved, and you kind of have to be a little more excited about it to make it. But I think either one I would be happy with on a trip. Here's the results of the boiling test. There's the inverse, or no, doesn't matter. Anyways, hopefully this was helpful. Please leave a comment if you know about this so that other people that stumble upon this somehow can just read the comments and learn a little bit, because the internet's a dark, scary place, and the less time you spend on it, the better. Thanks.